When you hear the name Hawaii, what comes to mind? White sand beaches, surfers riding the waves, honeymoon getaways, paradise. But behind that postcard image lies a darker history, because Hawaii was never meant to be a U.S. state. It was once an independent kingdom with kings and queens, its own constitution and diplomatic recognition from the world's powers. And then, in 1893, everything changed. No declaration of war, no democratic referendum, just a coup, backed by U.S. business interests, enforced by U.S. Marines and rubber-stamped by Washington. This is the untold story of how America, the nation that calls itself a symbol of freedom, stole Hawaii. Welcome to Talk Maniac. Long before American warships appeared on the horizon, Hawaii was thriving on its own. The islands were united in 1810 under King Kamehameha the Great, a warrior who forged one nation out of warring chiefdoms. By the mid-1800s, Hawaii wasn't some remote backwater. It had treaties with Britain, France, Japan, and even the United States. It had embassies in major capitals. It had a written constitution and a royal court modeled partly on European monarchies. In other words, Hawaii was sovereign, recognized, and respected. But paradise has a price, and the price was sugar. By the 19th century, Hawaii's fertile soil made it a gold mine for sugar plantations. American businessmen saw opportunity, and they took it. Families like the Doles and Castles built vast sugar empires. But they had a problem. They needed cheap labor, favorable trade deals, and most importantly, control over Hawaiian politics. So step by step, these sugar barons chipped away at Hawaiian sovereignty. In 1887, they forced King Kalakaua to sign what's now called the Bayonet Constitution, at literal gunpoint. It stripped the monarchy of power and handed voting rights to wealthy foreigners, while disenfranchising native Hawaiians. The kingdom was still alive, but its independence was bleeding. When King Kalakaua died, his sister, Queen Liliuokalani, took the throne. She was determined to restore Hawaiian sovereignty. In 1893, she announced plans for a new constitution, one that would return power to the monarchy and the Hawaiian people. But the sugar barons saw this as a threat to their wealth. They called on their friends in Washington, and Washington answered. January 17, 1893, a group of American businessmen, backed by the local U.S. minister, launched a coup against the Queen. And here's the critical part, U.S. Marines from the warship USS Boston landed in Honolulu. They didn't fire a single shot. They didn't need to. Their mere presence intimidated the royal forces. The Queen, not wanting bloodshed among her people, surrendered, on the condition that the U.S. government would later investigate and restore justice. That investigation did happen. President Grover Cleveland himself admitted the overthrow was illegal. But by then, the gears of empire were already turning. The coup leaders formed a so-called provisional government. They begged Washington to annex Hawaii. At first, Congress resisted. Many Americans argued it was outright imperialism, but the Spanish-American War in 1898 changed everything. The U.S. suddenly needed Hawaii as a strategic naval base, a stepping stone to the Pacific. And so, without a single Hawaiian vote, the islands were annexed by joint resolution. The Kingdom of Hawaii was dead. The U.S. flag now flew over Iolani Palace. It was, by every measure, a theft. For decades, Hawaii was portrayed as a happy part of America's story. Hollywood movies showed grass skirts and luau's, not occupation and betrayal. Tourism built the image of paradise, while the native people's history was silenced. Hawaiian culture was suppressed, their language banned in schools, their land seized for plantations and military bases. By 1959, when Hawaii officially became the 50th U.S. state, most Americans had no idea it had ever been independent. Today, native Hawaiian activists call it what it was, colonialism. The U.S. government itself admitted in 1993, on the 100th anniversary of the overthrow, that it was illegal. President Bill Clinton signed the Apology Resolution, acknowledging that the U.S. played a direct role in the coup. But words are not justice. The question remains, should Hawaii still be part of the United States, or should its sovereignty be restored? Polls show mixed feelings. Some Hawaiians want independence, others accept statehood but demand reparations. What's undeniable is this: America's image as a liberator collapses when you look at Hawaii. The so-called champion of freedom became the very thing it once fought against. So the next time you see Hawaii in a postcard, or hear about it as paradise, remember, behind the beaches and resorts lies the story of a stolen kingdom. A nation erased not by conquest but by corporate greed, political manipulation, and the silent threat of American guns. This is Talk Maniac, and this is the untold story of how America stole Hawaii.